This is going to be a very short and quick video in which I'm going to talk about what test do I need now for my visa in 2026. And this is against the backdrop of the changes to the UK immigration rules 2026. I made a video before in which I explain in detail, but this is going to be very quick. Why? Because there are still some people who are confused, who don't know what test they have to do, and they keep asking me to make a B2 video because they are applying for indefinite leave to remain or British passport. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what kind of different tests you need to do for different types of visas. So please stay tuned with me because in one of the slides, I have listed all of the visas and their requirements and what modules they have to do. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is a very simple and straightforward thing that different rules are applied at different stages of your visa. So there are changes. Obviously, there have been changes since January 2026, but these changes do not apply to every category. Please make sure you understand that. So they have got separate English requirements. For example, these are the type of different visas that we are going to talk about. So we have got entry visas, which is like a skilled worker visa. Extensions, for example, if you are on a family visa and then you got a family visa and then you have to extend it. Settlement, which is ILR, and naturalization, which is the British passport application. So a change to one doesn't automatically change all of the others. So as I said before, there have been changes, but those changes do not apply to every single category. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. Let's look at this slide, which says what has changed since 8th of January 2026. So from 8th of January 2026, the Home Office raised the language requirement for certain work visas. So for example, if you're applying for a skilled worker visa, which is like a nurse or an engineer or a scale-up highly skilled worker in the UK company, or high potential individual, which is HPI visa. So if you are if you're applying for these visas, you must now meet a B2 level, which is an upper intermediate English across all 4 skills. Now, this is not just speaking and listening. This is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So as I said, that there would be a slide after a couple of slides which shows you the list of every visa and the requirements. Now, for example, if you were a nurse or if you were an engineer and you applied to come to the UK in, let's say, 2025 or 2024, then you would need B1, and that was the lower requirement. So now they have made this B2. This applies only to new first-time visa applications submitted on or after that date. So it does not include extension, ILR, or citizenship applications. Okay, so this is what I emphasize. If you are on a family visa, okay, for example, if your husband or if your wife was here and you got a visa, spouse visa, you did A1 first and then for extension you did A2, you don't need B2. Okay, it is only for the skilled worker visas, scale-up visas, and high potential individual visas. And if you are applying for indefinite leave to remain or British citizenship application, you still don't need B2, you still need B1. I'll explain it in the next slide. So why ILR and citizenship still require B1 for now? So if you, let's say, if you're applying for indefinite leave to remain, which is the settlement visa, the English requirement remains B1 CEFR, which is Common European Framework Network. So that is speaking and listening only, no reading and no writing. So January 2026 change does not automatically apply to settlement rules. Okay, so those are separate and will only change if and when the Home Office publishes new amendments. Now there has been a message, wrong message, which is going across, which says that everybody has to do B2. No, this is not correct. So at the moment, indefinite leave to remain and British citizenship applications, they still require B1 language qualification. Okay, yes, I mean, if the Home Office changes that rule, and publishes it and sends notifications, then that's a different story. But at the moment, B1 is the requirement. In other words, the higher B2 rule is limited right now to entry visas. So that means if you are entering the UK, if you are coming to the UK for a work visa, for a highly skilled work visa, or other visas, or for example, student visas, then obviously the language requirement has gone up. Not for the people who are already here, not for the people who are applying for indefinite or British passport. Okay, so let's look at the next one. So British citizenships or naturalization, the language level is still B1, speaking and listening, and obviously you have to do life in the UK test under the existing rules. Okay, so this also has not been affected by the January changes. Okay, as I said, that Parliament has to approve and Parliament has to make it a law. It is not a law yet, it's just a proposal. So there are different rules for different visas. For example, work visa requirements have changed. Settlement and citizenship requirements are based on demonstrated ability already achieved. So, for example, from earlier visas, qualifications or exemptions and the rules that apply at the date of application. So, for example, if somebody did ILR under B1, okay, like a year ago, okay, so now they have to apply for British passport, so they can still use B1. If you, for example, if you did some other visa, if you applied for another visa and the requirement for that visa was B1, so you can still use that for indefinite leave to remain and British passport. Okay, so yeah, so because of this separation, someone who already had a B1 based visa before January 2000 can use the evidence for ILR. As I said, let's say if you had a visa which required B1 qualification, so you got that, okay, it doesn't expire in 2 years. So, and then after a year or so, you have to apply for indefinite leave to remain. So that means you can still use that B1 because that meets the requirement for indefinite leave to remain as well. So someone applying for a new skilled worker visa after 8th of January must now show B2 before the visa is granted. So for example, you are an engineer, you're a nurse, and you are applying to come to the UK to do nursing job or engineering job, okay? This time, instead of B1, you will have to produce a B2 certificate, B2 qualification, because now qualifications have changed for the skilled worker visas. So what might change later? Now, this is not confirmed yet, okay? These are just proposals. There are proposals to tighten English requirements across more immigration routes, including for settlement and citizenship. Now, at the moment, what the rules say is that if you are applying for indefinite leave to remain or British passport, you can still use B1 qualifications. However, there are proposals or consultations, but they're not the law yet. Official rule changes when the Parliament approves it and when they have to be published, okay, approved by before they take effect. And there is a speculation that they might change, and if they change, they would change later in 2026 or after that, which means in summer somewhere or May, June, July, okay, but not now. So at the moment, once again, as I said, you will use B1, you will need B1 for indefinite leave to remain and British passport. This is the concern of most people. Right, on the next slide, I'm going to show you the list of different visas and what qualifications they require and what kind of skills are tested. Now, this is not just a guess. I have taken this information from the gov.uk using this link, and I have also taken this information from Trinity College London, which is the approved examination body of the Home Office. Okay, so both of these still say that B1 is required for ILR and British passport, okay, because most of my viewers are working towards getting an indefinite leave to remain or British passport, and and that's why I am explaining it again and again for them. But on the next slide, you will see the list of different visas, even for those people who are skilled worker or students. Okay, so let's look at that. So here is the complete list of different visas and what is required. So if you are applying for indefinite leave to remain or British passport, you still know that you have to do B1. But if you're applying for a different visa, so what I would suggest you is to stop the video here, maybe take a picture of this thing, or write down if you want to write down. That comes straight from the horse's mouth. Okay, so I will explain everything, and if you want to come back to this, you can stop and you can have a look at this again. So first of all, further leave to remain, which is FLR visa, which is family or partner visa. So let's say your husband is here or your wife is here and you come from a different country and you get a spouse visa, you have to do A1, and that is only speaking and listening. Okay, so that visa is for two and a half years. After 2.5 years, you would need to extend that visa because you have to have 5 years before you apply for indefinite leave to remain. So to extend your family visa or spouse visa or family parent visa, you have to do A2, okay, which is slightly higher than A1. And then it's again speaking and listening. Okay, so if you are applying for indefinite leave to remain, whatever route you have come through, doesn't matter. When you are applying for indefinite leave to remain, for the language qualification, you have to have B1, which is again speaking and listening. And remember, you have to do life in the UK as well. If you are applying for British citizenship or naturalization, you will need a B1 examination, and that is speaking and listening. Okay, so this hasn't changed. Okay, so this is the standard, this is the same. Now, if you're applying for a representative of an overseas business visa, you will do A1 and then speaking and listening. If you are an international sports person, for example, if you are a very good cricketer, if you are a very good football player, and you have come to the UK to play or compete in sports, you will need A1 visa, and that is speaking and listening. Okay, now this is the place which has from here onwards things have changed. Okay, and you could see that most of them are work visas. So skilled worker visa, this used to be B1 before, but now it is B2, and you have to do speaking, listening, reading, and writing, which means all 4 skills. Okay, this has tightened. This is now tough. Okay, if you are health or care worker visa, like a nurse, or you work in the care homes or social worker, so that would be B2 again, and you have to do both, all 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. If you are applying for a scaled up worker visa, then B2 with 4 skills. If you are applying for a high potential individual HPI visa, you are applying for B2 and all 4 skills. If you are applying for overseas domestic worker visa, that used to be very basic test, but now they have made it B1, and at the same time it is all 4 skills, not just speaking and listening, it is reading and writing as well. So if you are minister of religion visa, for example, if you're coming here as an imam or as a priest or in the church or as a priest in the temple, then you have to do B2, which is speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Innovator founder visa, it's a kind of business visa, so then you have to do B2 and all 4 skills. If you are now, please try to understand those people who are applying for student visas, this is what they have to do. Student visa, and if you are applying for some study which is below degree level, an institution requires B1, then you have to do B1, but that is for speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Every student visa has 4 skills, remember. If you are applying for a student visa, but it is degree level, below or above degree level, and sometimes the institutions, they want the B2. So then you have to do B2, but speaking, listening, reading, and writing modules. Now, if you are applying for a student which is degree or above the degree level, for example, you are applying for a BA or BSc or Masters or PhD, then you have to do a C1, okay, visa, C1 degree qualification, and that is speaking, listening, and reading and writing. So this is the whole summary of the visas and different qualifications that you require at the moment. Okay, this is as of today. It might change tomorrow, it might change next month, but now these are the rules that are applied. Okay, so I'm sure that you understand that. If not, please leave me a message, ask me, or just stop it and have a look at that. Right. Now, many people ask me where to find the exam centers. So these are the Home Office approved test centers inside the UK. So if you are living in the UK, if you're here in the UK, then you can use Trinity College London, IELTS Consortium, Language Cert, or Pearson. Okay, so I make videos based on the Trinity College test, but so for example, when I mentioned on the previous slide that students can do B1 or C1, they can also do IELTS. Yeah, and obviously different universities have different requirements. For example, some universities need 6, 6.5, 7.5. So these are the centers inside the UK. But if you are, let's say, outside the UK, for example, you are working towards getting a skilled worker visa or HPI visa, then obviously you apply from outside. So these are some of the centers that you can find close to you. Ask the embassies, British Council, British Embassy, and they can tell you the details. PSI Services UK Limited, IELTS Consortium, that's language cert, and Pearson. This is the only one which is different, because inside it is Trinity College. Trinity College is not available outside the UK. So hopefully you understand that. I wish you all the best, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much. Bye.